Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Fire Force or NN no Shouboutai episodes 1 through 14. I felt like that was a good place to stop for this video because it's right in the middle of the season, but I didn't want to stop in the middle of an arc. So real quick, before I start getting into the series itself, I'm going to break this down into 4 parts. The first part is just going to be a spoiler-free intro, so if you don't want to know what happens, but you want to hear just some general thoughts and opinions and a suggestion to go watch it, I'm going to do an intro first with just that basic general stuff. Then I will be doing a section on the production quality, like the animation, the sound, the music, all of that. Which again, you can probably watch if you don't want to be spoiled, because I don't think I'll talk about anything spoilery there. But then I'm going to talk about the story in more detail, and finally I'm going to talk about the characters in their own section at the end. But yeah, just wanted to say that I really do recommend this series. I think it's very underrated, but I think a reason why so many people dropped it so quickly, including myself, if you look on the channel when it first started airing a little over a year ago, I week to week reviewed like the first 7 to 9 episodes before I just fell out of it. And I don't know if I wish I would have continued or not, because it was really nice being able to marathon it. So I have watched both seasons right now, but I didn't want to review them all in one video because it would either end up being super long or I would just skim over stuff, and I wanted to be able to take my time and really discuss stuff in the detail that it deserves. So I think that a reason that a lot of people dropped it is if you're looking for a suggestion and thinking about going into watching this, just give it a chance and make it past the first 6 to 9 episodes, because the first 6 to 9 episodes are the weakest ones, and then once you get through the first intro bits, it gets really good. I think the entire back half of this season is amazing, and all of season 2 was amazing. So it's just the first bit here that I think people fell out of, and I think one of the biggest problems to me for it was that when I was watching and reviewing week to week and stuff, it was very hard to get into the tone of it. There were things that made it seem like they wanted you to take it really seriously, and then there were like really comedic things that were like in places that you think should be serious but weren't, and the tone felt like it was all over the place for the early bits. And I think that's why a lot of people like couldn't get a grasp on what it was supposed to be. But I think once you get used to it and see where it's going, then you really start to understand the show and can really appreciate it a lot more. But yeah, I think the early bits are the weaker bits just because the tone is admittedly all over the place. So my next 3 reviews that I'm going to do for the next 3 quarters of this are probably going to be less critical because those are all just amazing. This I'm not going to be super critical because I do think it's still really good, but there are some problems with the first few episodes in ways that they just kind of like, they don't prepare you for how good it's going to be later on. So yeah, it starts off a bit rough. I think the production quality is amazing. The story has a really great depth to it and a really great mystery to it. It does that a lot more well than so many other shonen when it comes to just slowly building up a world and revealing little bits of a mystery here and there. It does that extremely well. The world that it's set in is a really fun one that I've come to really enjoy watching a story in. The story grew on me a lot. The characters are in the same place as the story, where early on there are a lot of them that aren't that great, but they do really grow on you and really get a lot better later on. I think Atsushi Okubo, who wrote this and before this wrote Soul Eater, has really stepped it up. And I loved Soul Eater, so that's saying a lot for me. I absolutely loved Soul Eater, but I think Fire Force is even a step up beyond what Soul Eater was. So yeah, and Lastly, for the intro section, I think the biggest early problem is the tone shift stuff, and I will go into that in more detail, but that's going to require talking about some details from the story, so I'm saving that for the story section a little later on. And also, don't know if I'm going to do this or not, but I may put some timestamps down so you can tell like what section we are on by looking at the bottom of the screen when on YouTube. But yeah, either way, let's talk about the production quality a bit. The animation's amazing. For a weekly show, it was very, very, very good. The music is very good. I like the art style and design a lot. I think in some ways they're better than Soul Eater. It feels like the character design, the building design and stuff, everything feels a lot more structured, a little bit more dark and serious, but it still keeps a lot of the color and personality that Soul Eater had. The sound effects are a big one that I always see people talk about with Fire Force. They're amazing. Like, the sound design is so, so good. But I think the real strength, the greatest sort of weapon in the show's arsenal, is the direction. The direction is so good that when you're watching it, it stands out from other anime. It's at such a high level. There's just so many shots where the shot composition's so good. The pacing of an episode, the pacing of a scene is incredible. The general organization of what we see on screen is just so, so well done that, again, compared to other anime, it just sticks out like crazy how good it is. And now to get into the story a bit more in depth. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't seen it yourself, I would say go watch it and then come back. But let's talk about the story a bit more in detail as we go along. So starting off with episode 1, I thought it was a good intro to the world and to the characters. And into episode 2, it has a really, really great first half. I love the more comedic stuff, the stuff we get with Arthur and Shinra and Maki. And it's always good to see more Maki. And then a solid back half. The back half, again, serious isn't bad, but sometimes it feels like with the music and the voice acting and everything, sometimes it feels like it goes so serious that it doesn't really fit with what else we're seeing on screen. Like, you can do both comedic stuff and serious stuff as long as you have sort of a more consistent tone where, like, say, One Piece is not a great example, but it's an alright one, where you can have some really serious and dark stuff happening, but there's still this air of a bit of levity to it. Even when it gets into a serious or dark thing, it doesn't get super, super, like, bogged down serious when it comes to the music and the animation and everything else. Whereas it felt like the tone in the early episodes of Fire Force really just went all over the place with how we're supposed to react to the comedic stuff and how we're supposed to react to the serious stuff. So again, the back half maybe went a bit too weirdly serious, but was still good. Episode 3 had super, super fun action, but Tamaki was pretty unbearable, and that's another complaint I see a ton from people who dropped it or didn't give it a chance, was how annoying Tamaki was. And it's terrible that one character can hurt a series so much, but I think that Tamaki gets much, much better. But I will say, even though she gets much, much better, in the first 9 or so episodes, she is pretty unbearable, so you really, really just have to stick through and be like, okay, I'm making it through these episodes, because you will get to like much, much better stuff if you can just get through it. And again, that sounds terrible with me saying, oh, it's an amazing show. You just have to survive the first few episodes. It's not like they're terrible or anything, but there are just certain things that will really grind at you if you let them, or if you're somebody that doesn't like that type of thing. And Tamaki's character is one of those things. Episode 4 through 6, we got into sort of the 5th Battalion arc, which I think is better in hindsight. When I first watched it week to week, I didn't like it as much as I liked it going back through and marathoning through it. I think the tone inconsistency, though, for this part is really jarring, because with the backstories and with the assault, with everything going on, everything seems like it's really serious and we should be taking it seriously. But then the Arthur fight, is completely just a joke. So it's like, okay, like that's fine on its own. Maybe we shouldn't be taking it seriously. We should be just open to them making a joke out of a fight in what should be a serious arc. But then we just jerk back from that to the Shinra fight, which again is like set up in a way that we're supposed to take it very seriously. So it's like they start off telling us, take things very seriously. This is life and death. There are characters getting burned alive and all this. And then they make the Arthur fight just a complete joke, like, say, like many One Piece fights end up or something, where it's like, okay, it's just a comedy fight, which is fine, but then it's telling us, okay, sure, there are people dying and stuff, but we shouldn't take that seriously, because it's still entertainment, and it's still going to have things played up for jokes and dark humor and all that. But then they jump back to being like, oh no, you should take this Shinra fight really, really seriously. So again, the tone just jerks you all over the place. Then we get to episodes 7 through 9, and the reason I was saying like 6 to 9 are the episodes that aren't the strongest, and once you get past them it's great. 7 to 9, I thought the story was really, really good. Rekka was a great villain, but the problem again is there's a lot of Tamaki there, and I didn't really hate Tamaki that much, but a lot of people like straight up despise her, and she is, again, she's pretty unbearable. She's pretty bad during this part of the story, but again, things get better. I think we got introduced to Karim though. Karim is the best. I think he is still my favorite character, or at least one of my favorite characters. I don't know, Joker might be up there with him now, or even Maki or Hinawa, but I freaking love Karim Flam. So yeah, also 7 through 9 really continues the amazing world building and the sort of slow unraveling of the mystery of this world in this show. Episode 10 was really good for the first half and stuff. We get the captain's meeting, which was really cool, getting introduced to all these characters. We get more Joker scenes, which are always wonderful because, God, Joker is just so good. And then we get some show stuff toward the end as well, with the reveal that Show is confirmed alive and all that. Everything was really, really, really great in episode 10. Then we get to the Asakusa Arc, from episodes 11 to 14. Again, it's all great. We start off with the first half of episode 11, I think, is Hinawa and Obi backstory, which is really, really good. I love Hinawa as a character. But I'll get into that when I get into characters. The 7th Battalion are all amazing. Of course, everybody loves, gosh, what's his face? Freaking with the eyes. Why am I? Oh, Shinmon. Everybody loves Benimaru. But, I really, really love Konro. I don't know why, but watching it, I was like, Konro is my boy. From the beginning, when we were first getting introduced to him, I loved his character. And the twins, they're so funny and good. I really love all of the 7th. The arc is great in general too, and it sets up a lot of stuff for the future of the series, and it continues the main theme that's going on, where we're unraveling these mysteries. Yeah, we're continuing to build up the main story and everything, but we're also continuing this through line of what we've gone through for the past like 3 arcs, where the arc with the 5th was setting up an alliance with some new characters that are now allies for our main characters. And then the same thing happened with the 1st Division and getting allies like Karim. And then we get into this, where we get stuff with the White Clad. We get stuff with demons and with Adola links and stuff. We get all of this cool stuff that's not really fully explained or expanded upon until a little bit later, but we start to connect more of those dots while continuing on the main story of the 8th Gathering allies. So yeah, all of that was great. The story of these 11, again, really, really good. I liked the story of it a lot. I just think the way that the story was presented, especially in the first 3 to 6 episodes, wasn't the best. And I kind of extend that also to 9 for some people if they really, really hate Tamaki. She didn't bother me that much, but she is pretty annoying up until like episode 9, so I'll understand if people didn't like her there, but I will say she does get much, much better, and even the comedy stuff with her is like much, much more well done later on. So yeah, let's talk about characters then. Shinra, I think, starts a little bit generic, but he does get better throughout the series as a character. He starts kind of like, it's like, okay, yes, this is our or our shonen protagonist, but I do seriously think he gets better throughout the series. Arthur is just solid comic relief from the beginning. He's solidly a very, very enjoyable comic relief character throughout the entire series. Iris, as far as these 14 episodes go, nothing special yet. She basically does nothing, doesn't have much development or anything. I mean, I guess with the Captain Hibana stuff, there's a little bit, but yeah, generally nothing special yet, but she grows so much as a character. Iris is one of my favorites too. I didn't mention her earlier, but she's one of my favorites too. Um, and I think, she's one of my favorites, but for these first 14 episodes, she didn't really do much of anything. Just again, know that she gets like so much better. I freaking love her. Hinawa, I loved from the start. He's really, really amazing. I think if anything, he doesn't really do as much going on, but the beginning parts, I loved it. He really makes me laugh a lot in the early episodes. Maki is just the best, one of my favorite characters. So cute, just so adorable. Obi, I really, really wish the show respected him more. He's a really, really cool character, but the show really doesn't show it off that much. He does some cool stuff though, like with the fight against Benimaru towards episode like 12-ish. All of that's really, really good, and it's a bit of time for his character to show off, but really he doesn't get as much shine, as much spotlight as I wish he did. Tamaki starts out pretty unbearable, but she does get much better in the way that she's presented, the way that she's developed, and even the comedy stuff. I don't think the first 14 episodes are quite there yet, but like especially towards like the latter half of this season and next season, the comedy stuff with her Lucky Letcher stuff gets so much better. It's presented in actual like really weird and funny ways, whereas it's just straight up fan service in the early bits and kind of really annoying, not very good fan service at that. So it does again get much better. Rekka again I think is a great villain. Kareem is the best, possibly my favorite character. Between him, Maki, and Joker, probably those three are probably the ones that fight for the spot of my favorite character. Hibana, I think, is a good character who could be better. Like, she's a good character, especially I think her backstory and stuff is really good. But then, once she becomes an ally, I kind of feel like she doesn't have as much personality anymore. She kind of goes from as just crazy and entertaining as she was, and it kind of gets toned down so much that she's less interesting. She's kind of just a generic ally sometimes, but I think she's a good character, just better. I think all the members, I already mentioned, all the members of Division 7 or the 7th Battalion or whatever, they are all great. Joker is amazing, and one of the things I loved in the first 14 episodes, since that's what we're talking about here, is how at this point in the story, I think even up to the entirety of season 1, you can't really tell what Joker's thinking. You can't tell whose side he's on, what his motives are. You can't tell if he's good or bad or anything. So I really enjoyed that with his character. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the first 14 episodes. Like I said, I will be talking more about the rest of season 1 and then splitting season 2 into 2 separate videos, just because I wanted to be able to take enough time to talk in detail on each of these. So yeah, I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and again, if you were coming here looking for recommendations, I would say it's totally worth watching. But yeah, it's totally worth watching. But know that the back half of this season is so much better, and then season 2 is like incredible all the way through. It's just, and even these 14, even the back half of what I just reviewed is really good. The Asakusa arc is great. I thought the First Division arc was really great. It's just the early bits aren't, or the weakest. So I feel like that's why a lot of people dropped it and didn't give it a proper chance, because they judged it on the first few episodes, which is fair enough. But once you get through those first few episodes, it just keeps getting better and better. Um, at least in my opinion, I think it keeps getting better and better as it goes along. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Like if you like the video and comment down there to tell me what you thought of this series or my thoughts on it and all that. Subscribe for more. Fire Force much more on the channel. Got a lot of other reviews and things coming. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, it's free and open for anyone. Just ask and I'll give you a link. And if you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, it is patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or a link will be in the description. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.